So this is something that then individually we also can look to in a certain type. If you would get your life right, he would start to relent on some of the things he's caused or allowed in your life, which were meant to get your attention. All that stuff, all that evil, so to speak, that he says concerning the evil, all those terrible things that are challenging your life, those things that feel like horrible curses, they're really meant to do one thing: get your attention, wake you up, get you to focus in the right direction, which is up. He wants you to focus vertically. And so until he gets your attention, you're just chugging along. And if there's no curses, if it all seems like blessing, you're thinking everything's okay. When things go off the rails and you start suffering, one of the first thoughts you have is, I wonder if I did something wrong. At least you should. You know, he says, I shall give them. I want you to understand scripturally, this is not what you were taught in your Christianity walk. Give them does not mean, actually, I'm going to hand it to them by fiat. I'm just going to give it to them. It always means I'm going to cause them to go through the process where they're going to desire this, and then they will have it. That was the whole point. Look, if he was just going to give it to you, why wouldn't he give it to them before they suffered so long? Or why not shorten it up a whole lot? Why are we even doing all this that we're doing now? Why hasn't he come back? Because he, being very patient, it says, is waiting for whatever he's waiting for down here in terms of the amount of people at whatever level he may be looking for of understanding and getting their heart aligned into that one way. When he said an everlasting covenant, all of his covenants are meant to be that. He said, but this time it will be everlasting because we won't break it. Because we won't break it. Now, is it that we're not going to break it because he gave us this new heart? Well, then why didn't he just give it to us now and then we'll never break it? You see how dumb that sounds? On the other hand, if we have grown and we have become people after his own heart, like David, if we have become aligned congruently with the heart of Messiah, with the heart of the Father, then of course we would not break the covenant. It would be everlasting. And it would be everlasting by choice, not by being forced. Then we get back into the whole free will argument, right? Well, if he's just going to give us all these things, then what was the whole point of all of this? Why didn't he just do that and save everybody all the grief? If you follow Scripture holistically, meaning the whole thing has to fit together, you can't get the message that he's just going to give you everything. That message cannot be arrived to by actually reading the book. Oh, yes, you can get that in a Sunday church all you want, but they're not reading the book. Not holistically. They're just cherry-picking parts of verses and verses that they think they can kind of say whatever they want it to say. You know, I think that, most of you who are older maybe have heard, the line about how statistics basically can be manipulated to say anything. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics is what they say. Okay? I mean, you can really make statistics say anything. The Bible's the same way. Because if you take some statistics and you pick out just little pieces of it, you can make it look like almost anything if you choose to ignore some of the data. And even worse, they claim Sunday is Shabbat. He said, I never said that. I never said Sunday was Shabbat. I remember watching some big mainstream, Christian guy on televangelist guy, and he was doing the 10 Commandments, and I was going to be really curious to see what he did when he got to Commandment 4. He ripped into them and said, you're doing this wrong. Not on the wrong day, they just should be doing it all day. He says, you guys do it for 2 hours or an hour, and then you go home, and So he was trying to get them to do Shabbat on Sunday. But that's evil. Christmas and Easter, and calling it his, evil. Eating what he says not to eat, because it's not food, evil. Doing to him what others did to their gods, evil. There's things that we do that's not the way he designed it and intended it to be, so it's evil. Come, let's reason together. Some of you think that reason together means you get a say. Not in this case. You don't get a say. This is him saying, we need to have a talk. If you obey, all this great stuff happens. If you don't, you're in trouble. If you rebel, if you don't submit, you're going to be killed. You're going to be devoured by the sword. He's saying, I just wanted you to make sure you understood. This is like when you take your teenager and walk them to the front door and say, by the way, see that? You don't have to be here. You're here because especially if they're over 18, right? Because I am letting you stay here. But because I love you, I'd like you to stay here. I don't necessarily want you out of here. I like that I have you, I love you, I want you in my house. But if you can't behave appropriately, like if you can't obey and submit in my house, there's a door right there. But if you read the thing, you see these people are frustrated. It says, you seek me day by day, you delight to know my ways, you're a nation that tries to do the righteousness, and you do the mechanics of it, but without the character development, the mind of Yeshua, the heart of Yeshua, flowing out, the mechanics have no value. The mechanics have no value. Now, Christianity would claim the opposite. They would say, you just developed the character because the mechanics have no value if you develop the character. Well, you can't really do one without the other. You cannot develop the character without the mechanics, and you can't develop the mechanics without the character. You need both. You know, I don't think I've ever put it this way, but in verse 13 when it says, nor speaking your own words, I want to expand that. I know I've said it like where you're focusing on your own things, like talking about secular things or stuff about things that aren't directly about him. It may be also using your words to describe or to define what he said. So now you're going to use your words instead of his words, and then it gets twisted and perverse and transgressed. So he's talking to a people that he's trying to let them understand, oh yeah, you do some things I tell you to do, but some things you use your words, not mine. And so I never said it, is basically what he's saying, and you're saying that I said it. So that could be in there as well. So what does confess mean? It means you're going to say, I did this. I did this. I own it. I made this mistake. I trespassed, and I'm sorry. And then we go back to the first verse we read, which is the idea of we're going to weep and mourn and tear our hearts and not our garments. Have sadness, recognizing that you disappointed the creator of all things. And knowing that you can turn that frown into a smile by breaking your heart and making teshuvah and letting him fill it back up. You know, this goes back to James chapter 4, which says, lament and mourn and weep. Humble yourself before the Almighty, and he will lift you up. I'll cause them to go through experiences to have a heart to know me. Knowing is a relational thing. They'll know me. They'll know what I mean when I say it. They'll know that I mean what I say. They'll know that when I say that they'll have good and blessing, they'll believe it. And they'll know when I say they'll have cursing and suffering, they'll believe it. Because they'll know I mean what I say. And what I say comes to pass. I'll give them a heart to know me. So through your experiences, don't you feel like you're learning and getting to know him?